All right, good evening, everyone. It is 7:05, and I apologize for everyone in the audience that we are 5 minutes late. We typically are not that way for our legislative meetings, but every once in a while we have to make an exception when time delays us. So with that, I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Board of School Directors of Upper Dublin, our legislative meeting for October the 28th, 2024. And Ms. Evans, Brooke Evans, if you would please call the roll.
Ms. Jenna Evans.
Present.
Ms. Ionetti. Mr. Held.
Present.
Ms. Redding. Ms. Sherpier.
Present.
Dr. Thomas.
She is excused this evening.
Mr. Sirota.
Present.
Mr. Warschauer.
Present.
Mr. Wallach.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. It is great to see so many people in the audience this evening, and we have a very special evening tonight for two sets of recognitions, and it brings the board and the district great joy when we get to recognize both some of our students and some of our faculty members all at the same meeting. So with that, Dr. Smith, do you want to take the lead in how we'll proceed with the recognitions?
Thank you, Mr. Wallach. So myself and I believe Mr. Wallach, we're going to come to the podium, and we have some information that we'll share about each of our recognitions. And then as we call your name, if you can come up front, and we'll shake your hands and give you your certificates. And I'll give you some direction where to stand while we get everybody's names through. And then we will do each of the recognitions, and then we will take hopefully a moment of recess and go out into the hallway for some photo opportunities for our families. Thank you. Just give us a moment to relocate.
We make this work. A little bit of improv, it's all good. Okay. First, we want to recognize some National Merit Scholarship winners from our student body. We're honored to recognize the 16 Upper Dublin High School students who have earned distinction from the National Merit Scholarship Organization, including 5 students who have earned the coveted title of National Merit semifinalists. We have 11 students who also received National Merit commendations. These prestigious awards are given to students for exceptional performance on the PSAT exam. Of the 1.3 million students who took the PSAT last year, only 16,000 earned the title of National Merit semifinalist, placing these students in the top 1% nationally. On behalf of the board and the district, I am delighted to recognize our 2025 semifinalists. Hannah Adams. Matthew Gregg. Selena Liang. Isabella Shi. And Lance Yang. In addition to recognizing our semifinalists, National Merit also distinguishes students who score in the top 50,000 nationally. These students receive National Merit commendations to reflect their exceptional academic promise. For 2025, the 11 Upper Dublin High School seniors who have earned these commendations will be read in a moment, and we're delighted to welcome them, and we are so proud of them tonight this evening as well. First, Sayawash Mohammed Azim. Shriza Shradori. James Eckert. Mara Hayden. Sebastian Isaacs. Michael Rothkopf. Kyle Schaller. Gregory Siegel. Jordan Unickel. Jason Shee. And Christopher Yu. Let's give a big round of applause for all of our students. As the students get seated again, it is also our pleasure to recognize some of our outstanding visual arts community and our faculty here this evening. Each year, the Pennsylvania Association for Arts Educators awards the title of Outstanding Visual Arts Community to select schools from across the state. This distinction is granted to visual arts programs that demonstrate rigorous and inclusive curricula, host an exceptionally qualified faculty, show a commitment to accessibility, and seek opportunities to enhance program visibility. We are delighted to celebrate that Upper Dublin High School has been selected among the outstanding visual arts communities for 2024. Known for its depth and scope, our program includes 17 unique courses within the visual arts, including 3 at the AP level. The many educational opportunities provided enable our students to explore their passions and creativity through a range of different mediums. As a school board and a district, we recognize that behind every exceptional program is an exceptional faculty. We are so delighted to recognize the Upper Dublin High School art faculty members whose efforts have brought this distinction to our school. Among their colleagues, they are known for going out of their way to inspire students' love for learning, to build strong connections, and to foster appreciation and understanding about the artwork their students create. Please join us in celebrating our high school art faculty members. We ask them to come up as well. Russell Coleman. Crystal Dunn. Stephanie Eager. Doug Grande. John Squarey. And Brian Capps. While he was unable to join us this evening, we also recognize Stephen Hopkins, a former high school art faculty member who now teaches over at Maple Glen Elementary, for his contributions to the art program and the high school. Let's have a big round of applause for our faculty members. And now if we could ask our students and their families and our teachers to all go outside, we'll take a 5-minute adjournment for some photo ops.
Mr. Wallach, can I just interrupt real briefly?
Yes.
While people are still here in the building, I just want to congratulate not just the students, but also their families and the faculty in the district for really this achievement. It's not just our students, but it's the whole community who makes this possible, and I want to recognize that before everybody leaves out. So congratulations all around. Thank you.
Hear you, hear you. We'll resume in about 5 minutes. All right. Thank you, everyone, for indulging us in that break after our presentation there. We're going to get back to our agenda, and next up is our student government report, and Izzy Fishman's here.
Thank you. This past month has been extremely active for Upper Dublin students. From dancing it out at Coro to running at Lehigh, UD students have been showing their pride everywhere. To kick off the month, 10 juniors received perfect scores from their Pennsylvania civics exam, recognizing their merit as citizens of Pennsylvania outside of citizens of Upper Dublin. Continuing to show excellence in academics, the underclassmen at Upper Dublin recently took their practice PSATs with great optimism for the results. With the turn of the season, many of our fall sports have begun to wind down, returning with much success throughout all of their leagues. Both boys and girls cross country took home the win for their Liberty Division championships at Lehigh University. Girls soccer as well as boys water polo have also brought pride to Upper Dublin as they have won their league titles. The rest of our athletics programs are entering into their playoff games, and we wish them luck throughout the last string of their season. School spirit has been flying these past few weeks as we hosted an incredibly cooperative Spirit Week, both exciting students through our theme days and raising money and cans for those in need. We also thank our principals for diving face first into cold pudding to search for gummy worms on behalf of their grade, which led the way to an amazing homecoming dance Friday night, with high student involvement throughout the setup and an amazing turnout on the night of. Our arts programs have been getting spooky as we wind nearer to Halloween, with the UDHS Orchestra performing their annual Halloween concert and the theater department preparing for their fall production of Shakespeare's The Twelfth Night. The marching band hosted their 50th annual Spectacle and Sound, featuring an alumni band with over 150 previous graduates of Upper Dublin, as well as the Kutztown Marching Band, the latter also featuring many Cardinal alums. As senior nights have come through the fall season, showing our seniors how much we appreciate them, there's also been a focus on younger students. In order to inform the board of a more well-rounded understanding of the students in the district throughout the months and appreciate our younger students, I have come into contact with the PTA and principals from the 4 elementary schools as well as the middle school to find ways to inform the board of the goings-on there. These schools are currently running their student government elections, and at the conclusion of these, I will connect with these students to understand their school environment each month the same way I hope to inform you all of the environment at the high school. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys all have a great holiday season these next months.
Izzy, thank you so much. As always, we appreciate your updates from the high school, and thank you so much for the initiative in reaching out to our other schools and getting us updates from those other schools. That will be greatly appreciated and something we will very much enjoy hearing. I hope the senior class did okay in like the alcoves and everything, so do okay? Okay, good. With that, we'll keep moving on to the superintendent's report and Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Wallach. So this month I have a couple of celebrations that I would like to share, and I did put together with Mrs. Yoder's help the slides for this evening. First and foremost, October is Principals Month. We have almost everybody in the picture there, our lead and house principals, and I just want to thank them for their service to our district. I can say I've been in a number of districts, and this is probably the highest quality team that I have worked with leading our buildings. And again, really just appreciate their day in and day out efforts. Secondly, you heard Izzy talk about spectacle and sound. This is, of course, my first time being there, but it is definitely, I understand why it's called a spectacle, because it truly was. It was a wonderful evening of many different bands across the area playing, our alumni band, as you heard, and then quite a performance by Kutztown University. And I was honored to be one of the administrators presenting some of the awards that evening, and thank our staff for putting on that for us. Homecoming, Izzy didn't allude, but yes, the seniors took it. They certainly had their alcove decorating. In the lower left, you can see they were a Star Wars theme. It was quite impressive. There's clearly some very talented artists in the group, and some theater students, because they put on skits as well. So And they stay here Thursday night until, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night, and then they're back here at 6:30 in the morning on Friday morning, which was hard for me, but they were here and had a bundle of energy, and so that was wonderful. The pep rally was really a wonderful event as well, and they tried to take a picture of the entire student body on the in the gym, so hopefully we'll see what that looks like soon, but I heard that went well. Homecoming court is up there on the right. Our 3 young men were the royalty this year, and they were crowned at the homecoming dance on Saturday night, which again was just lovely to see. I think we had over 1,200, 1,300 students in our gymnasium, and it really hit home with me how inclusive and what a community sense these events are, because the kids really were just one big crowd celebrating each other, and our student section was packed at the football game. So really fun Spirit Week at our high school. I also want to give one final shout out for our monstrous illustrative math night, which is our new program at the elementary school. This is a family night coming up tomorrow evening. I believe we have over 100 families registered already. We are really excited about this, and we tried to rile up some of our students this week when the Monsters visited their classrooms. So that was a lot of fun for us as well. I'd also like to announce we have been working with a small group of parents in our district as well as administrators to sponsor and create our very first multicultural or celebration of cultures evening here at Upper Dublin. That will be on Thursday, May 22nd. So we'll be putting out a save the date information will be coming forth soon. And then this evening on the agenda, you will see an agenda item for the approval of the superintendent and assistant superintendent performance measures. That's an annual piece that needs to be approved by the board. We've been working with them to come up with what the goals are. That's a lot of writing on there. That's really hard to read. There's 4 main categories. Strategic and cultural leadership, things like the mission, vision, and values of the district, the portrait of a graduate, data presentation and recommendations. We have systems leadership is the second area. That's things like policy review, budget and staffing, safety and facilities. The third area is leadership for learning, really strengthening our tier 1 instruction and our MTSS systems, looking at curriculum review cycles and universal screeners. And then the fourth area is professional and community leadership. And that is things regarding communications and engagement with our community members. And then last item here is the comprehensive planning is something we've been working on. Our mission, vision, and values. We have our steering committee has met twice, maybe once this school year. We're gearing up for the second one. Mrs. Drennan and I are leading that work, and we are excited. We're just started to be looking at our academic performance data. We'll look at some perceptual data at our next meeting on November 12th. And if you haven't yet completed your survey, we did launch climate surveys for our internal and external stakeholders. So we really do value your input and will help to drive the decisions that we make. And one little tidbit about me, I absolutely love Halloween. So a happy Halloween to everybody if you happen to celebrate that. But hopefully you can enjoy. I know our students do have 2 days off the end of this week while we are in professional development. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. It covered a lot going on in our district as always. And in that Halloween theme, some of those monsters might have been people we knew in the classrooms there, perhaps. Excellent. Thank you so much. Next up is our first opportunity for public participation. This is for action items and presentations on the agenda only. If anyone wishes to address the board, please come up, state your name and city of residence, or affirm you're a resident or a taxpayer of the district, and Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes.
Anita Brister, Fort Washington. Could you just clarify, Dr. Smith, you put up something, performance measures. Do we have that? Because I see in our packet, superintendent and assistant superintendent goals for 2024-2025, but there's one recommended action under that. And then in the big packet that's out there for the public, it does say superintendent's objective performance measures, and there's 4 performance measures under strategic cultural leadership, systems leadership, leadership for learning, professional and community leadership. I guess my question is, number 1, do we have what you just put up there somewhere and I'm not seeing it? And my other question is, are there specifics somewhere, or is that coming in a future document? So, for example, would there be subcategories under your broader categories that would be specifics that you intend to carry out by a certain time? So there's one thing under number 10 in the small agenda packet, and the last page in our big packet is what I'm also referring to. Thanks.
Hi, Barbara Mass from Fort Washington. I just wanted to speak about Spirit Week, and I wanted to express my gratitude to Ashley Martonik because she has been so wonderful and so supportive. And I've been doing this since the class of 2004, and I feel like I really left this Spirit Week with such extra spirit, which is funny because I'm really, really spirited. But I just wanted it on the record. I appreciate everyone who participates with Spirit Week. We have one of our junior class officers here. And it was just a really, really good one. So I just, again, everyone should get a shout out, but because she is activities, I think she gets the greatest shout out. So thank you. Okay.
Do not see anyone else approaching, so I will close the first opportunity for public participation. Dr. Smith, any response?
Yes, I can certainly clarify, and I apologize if I wasn't clear. So in your packet, there is one document attached to, I believe you said it's item number 10, which is superintendent and assistant superintendent goals. And I apologize, we use these terms interchangeably, goals and performance measures. They are the same thing. They are what I and Mrs. Drennan as the assistant superintendent will be evaluated on. The document you have is the overarching goal areas and statements that go with them. Yes, there are certainly more specifics in terms of what might deliverables look like within each of those areas and what is our baseline that we work off of, and then we provide that information to the board as part of our annual evaluation to help them make a determination of our annual evaluation rating for the year, which is then brought back to the board in June.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Any other comments from the board? Excellent. I will add that Spirit Week seemed amazing. Okay, we have minutes next up on our agenda. First item of minutes is not something we're going to take action on, but because of the timing of one policy meeting following a recent or a close in time policy meeting, I think there was not policy minutes from our August 21st committee meeting that was ever approved by the committee. So we don't take formal action on that, but in lieu of it happening at the policy committee meeting, I'm going to ask the policy committee, and maybe I'll turn to Ms. Iannitti to run it, if she would like to seek approval from her committee of those minutes.
Okay, thank you for explaining the situation, Jeff. So policy committee, have you had a chance to look over the minutes? Yes, and do we approve them? Okay. I agree. And we move that to legislative.
Excellent. Thank you. Appreciate everyone bearing with us for that formality. Not a formality, but a procedural event that we needed to have happen that hadn't happened. So now we have our normal minutes from our September 23rd, 2024 legislative meeting. They've been distributed to the entire board, and the board's had a chance to review. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes? Mr. Sirota, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Held, thank you so much. Questions or comments on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Thank you so much. We move to our committee recommendations, and Education Committee is first, and Ms. Sherbier.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wallach. We have two items. One is conferences and one is student activities. In the conferences, we have a couple of conferences that are added since the Education Committee meeting. Yes, and then on the student activities, we have the baseball spring trip and the girls lacrosse tournament. They were presented previously, so I'd like to make a motion to approve both the conferences and the student activities.
Excellent. Thank you
Second.
so much. Mr. Warschauer took the words out of my mouth. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Next up is Finance Committee and Mr. Sirota.
Thank you. We have 7 items under the Finance Committee recommendations tonight. All of these except the last one, item G, which is our regular monthly payments, were discussed in detail at the Finance Committee last week. So I will make a motion to approve items 6A through G.
Very good. Thank you. A second on that motion?
I'll second.
Ms. Evans, thank you. Questions and comments, starting with Mr. Sirota.
Just want to acknowledge item 6F is a donation from the high school girls soccer booster club, and I do want to acknowledge and thank the booster club for the donation toward the purchase of a camera that will be used for practice and game film for their own review, as well as to live stream games. So we certainly appreciate those, and of course any donations. Thank you.
Very much. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Motion carries. Next up is our Personnel Committee and Ms. Redding.
I would like to make a motion for the item A in the for the personnel report, just one. So I'd like to make a motion for that.
Thank you so much. Is there a second on that motion?
I second.
Ms. Iannitti, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Next up, we're going to move to our pupil services recommendations section. I'm going to split these apart. First up, we have an educational agreement, the details of which have been provided to the board. I'll make a motion to approve item A, the educational agreement. Do I have a second on that motion? Mr. Sirota, you won the race. Thank you, Mr. Sirota. Questions or comments from the board? Being none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Excellent. I'm not going to take action on item B this evening, but if any board member wishes to do so, now is your opportunity.
I would like to make a motion to approve, to adopt the proposed a report of the hearing officer with an effective date of 30 days before the end of the first marking period. The first marking period ends on second marking period. I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. The second marking period ends January 24th. So 30 days before that is the unfortunate date of December 25th, but that would be the effective date, allowing for a 30-day appeal. Thank you.
Thank you for that motion, Mr. Sirota. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Ms. Sherpier, thank you so much. Questions or comments from the board on that motion? I'm going to, Mr. Diazio, make a motion to table that motion. I believe that's appropriate procedure at this point, if I so choose to do that. Is that correct?
Sure, a motion to table is always appropriate. Motion to table should get voted on first before you vote on Mr. Sirota's motion.
And does a motion to table need a second in order to go forward?
Take a motion. You could take a second to table.
Okay. So I'm going to move to table Mr. Sirota's motion and ask if there is a second to my motion.
I'll second.
I think Ms. Iannitti won on that. So right now, all we're discussing is the motion to table the motion. Correct. We don't have discussion on that. Is that correct, Mr. Diazio? Okay. So right now, we are taking a vote on tabling the motion, tabling the item. Is that correct, Mr. Diaz? If we table the motion, we would table the item?
Correct.
Okay. Appreciate it. Sorry to be interjecting, but just want to make sure I get this procedurally correct. So, board, motion tables on the floor have been seconded. All in favor of tabling, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Four, so the motion to table fails, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we are back to Mr. Sirota's motion that is on the floor. Questions or comments from the board on the motion? Ms. Evans.
Mr. Sirota, would you reiterate your motion, please?
Certainly. My motion is to accept the report of the hearing officer with an effective date of December 25th, 2024. Effective date of expulsion of December 25th, 2024.
Just a follow-up question.
I have that wording correct, Mr. Diazio? Yeah.
So, Mr. Sirota, if your motion were adopted by the board, hearing officer's recommendation would be adopted with an effective date of December 25th. Thereafter, there would be a 30 family at issue to appeal, and during the pendency of the appeal, the student's enrollment would be maintained. That would bring you through sometime the last week of January, which is when the second marking period ends.
Thank you.
So that's the reason for the timing of it being effective on December 25th, because that's an unfortunate date. Okay.
Other comments, Ms. Ionetti?
Yeah, I mean, I just encourage the board, half of us wanted to table this. Please keep that in mind. And I think it's extremely unfortunate that the date is December 25th. And if you're on the fence about this, remember that. Thank you.
Ms. Evans?
I just want to understand the consequence of voting no, Mr. Diazio. So we're voting on Mr. Sirota's motion. If Mr. Sirota's motion fails, what happens?
So this is a recommended adjudication that is being put before the board. So if the board votes no, this matter would not be brought back up to the board because the recommendation has been presented and the board is voting. Not be coming back at any future point in time.
Yeah, that's what I want to make clear. So if the vote is in favor of Mr. Sirota's motion, obviously we move forward with expulsion. If the vote is no, the student stays, and there's no contemplated, revision or revisiting, I guess I should say, of this motion.
Correct. If at some point in future the facts change and there's proceeding that would come to the board for a recommendation, that's a possibility. But the same adjudication would not be presented to the board.
Ms. Ionetti?
I'm just going to repeat, do you really want to make this decision effective December 25th? I just couldn't. I wouldn't want that in writing. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, it would be effectively the same to make it the end of, right at the end of the semester before winter break. No, it wouldn't. It would be, we would have to do it at the end. No, there's
based on your motion, Mr. Sirota.
Yeah.
There's no impact on anything at December 25th because it's simply at that point in time
the clock starts.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
All that does is start a clock. It's really January 24th. But in order to make January 24th the date, the thing we have to vote on is December 25th. I understand the complication of that date, but that's how I got there.
other questions or comments? Mr. Held.
So I know one motion to table this already failed. Can we make another motion to table it with a specific date in mind? Is that admissible?
Someone could make a motion to amend Mr. Sirota's motion. Or his concern on the part of the board members about the effective date of the resolution that would be adopted. The board could opt to have a different effective date. Change the effective date to January 1st, for example. It just would mean that the appeal period would not begin to run until January 1st.
Is that your question, Mr. Held? I think your question might have been slightly different.
It was slightly different. My idea was if we could make a motion to table this until the next legislative meeting. So being specific, whereas I think the original motion was indefinite, but to be specific about bringing this back at the next legislative meeting.
You can take another motion to install the additional discussion.
Can I make a motion to table this action item?
And do you want to do that to a date certain, Mr. Held, or just how do you want to phrase your motion?
I would like to make a motion that we table this action item until the next legislative meeting.
Do we have a second to that motion? Ms. Evans, thank you. It's another motion to table, so we do not have discussion on that. We now take a vote. So on Mr. Held's motion to table to the next legislative meeting, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Do we have Sure. Everybody that said aye, please raise your hand and then I'll go around. So aye was Ms. Iannitti, myself, Mr. Wallach, Mr. Held, Ms. Evans, and Ms. Redding. So that would be 5 ayes. All opposed? Got Mr. Sirota, Mr. Warschauer, and Ms. Sherpier. So that's 5-3. The motion to table carries. Okay, we made it through that item. Sometimes we learn new things about procedures at school board meetings as we go through them, but that's how we get to results sometimes. So appreciate everybody's input, discussion, and careful thought on that matter as we went through it. Next up, we have our policy committee recommendations, and Ms. Iannitti.
Yes, we have some second readings, first readings, and a first reading repeal. And I just want to point out that the item that we're repealing is completely contained in another policy. So I don't want anyone to think we're just getting rid of that policy. It's just part of another policy now. Okay, so with that, I would like to make the motion to approve 9A, B, and C.
Thank you, Ms. Iannitti. Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Held, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Ms. Redding, did I cut you off? Were you trying to say something before? I apologize.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something to pupil services recommendations B, that in my opinion, we owe the family a definite answer so that they can move forward with the appropriate arrangements for their student. So my ask is that we really as a board think about it and have a definite answer by the next executive session.
Appreciate that. We did set a deadline to bring it back, so we know we have that to be on our November agenda. I'm getting myself ahead of myself, I think, right? Yeah, November. Okay. Next, we have one item of other business tonight, as Dr. Smith referenced. Mr. Sirota, if I could ask you to take that.
Certainly. I'd like to make a motion to approve the objective performance measures for both the superintendent and assistant superintendent as presented in item 10.
Thank you for that. Do I have a second to that motion? Mr. Warschauer, thank you so much. Questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Excellent. Motion carries. Next up, we have our solicitor's report and Sunshine Act announcements. Mr. Diazio.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wallach. The board met in executive session this evening, October 28th, from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock. The board had a discussion on the personnel report that was approved this evening, and then also had a discussion about a confidential student matter, which was this evening listed as item on the agenda. The item that was tabled.
Thank you for that, and thank you as always for your guidance as I get through things at these meetings sometimes. Next up, we have our second opportunity for public participation. This is for any topic. Speakers could approach the mic, state their name and city of residence, or affirm they're a resident or taxpayer of the district, and Ms. Evans will time your 4 minutes.
Excuse me, Anita Brister, Fort Washington. As the board probably knows, there have been some ongoing zoning meetings for the purpose of discussing the potential bus garage in placing it in an area zoned A residential. As far as I know, the meeting, I've been at 3 of them, I believe. I missed one. There'll be another one in November. I do not think they are filmed. So I'm going to assume, I know Dr. Smith has been there. I know some of a lawyer for the district has been there. Andy's been there, but I don't see any board members there. So I don't know exactly how you're getting your information as to what's happening at those meetings. But anyway, just a few things a few thoughts I have about it. The whole purpose of having an A residential zoned area, so the neighborhoods, I'll say, around Fort Washington are all single family homes or townhomes. Some very close to where this bus garage is going to be, the Farm Lane, Van Zant neighborhood. They'll be able to see this area, and they'll certainly have light pollution and other. So the whole point of saying that a bus garage belongs somewhere else, specifically in a place that's zoned commercial or maybe industrial, is to protect property values and to keep residents safe. That's language from our own township codes. And when we're allowed to talk, which will be at the next meeting, if you have standing, which means you're within 0.5 miles, which I am, of where this will be, we are allowed to say our piece on why we think that this will be bad for health, safety, and welfare of residents. And we at these meetings have been talking about safety issues. One gentleman stood up, I don't know his name, but this was a meeting I was here, and he said putting a bus garage in that area is an accident waiting to happen, in his view, and I think many of us have the same view. So the two zoning variances that I have a real problem with, and this is why I think the district should really reconsider what you're asking for here. There's 4 variances you're asking for. 2 of them are very, very significant variances. So one, you're asking to go for the township to exempt you from a variance that says you can only have a 600 square foot building in the area, but the school district wants an over 10,000 square foot building. That's a very significant discrepancy. It's not a little thing. Then another one is there's a variance, it's section 25540, if that means anything to anybody, to allow more than one commercial vehicle containing a gross weight that exceeds 9,000 pounds to be parked on a property within a residential district. Well, you're asking for a very, very big exemption there also because every vehicle you're going to be parking there is going to be more than 9,000 pounds. So there's going to be a number of buses, there's going to be some vans, and then there's going to be, I think there's at least 52 buses, what we were told at one of the meetings. And then there's going to be cars for the bus drivers. So those 2 really bother me. If it was just a fence being 6 feet versus 8 feet, maybe it wouldn't bother me that much. But those 2 are pretty big. You're really taking what is a kind of a heavy commercial use, a bus garage, any buses being parked right there, in a residential area, and you're saying, well, just exempt us from that too. It's a quality of life issue for those of us that do live in that neighborhood, and I definitely have concerns about it, and I really wish the district would revisit it, because health, safety, welfare, we could also get into, I guess one of your experts, and I'm going to get confused if it was the engineer or if it was the architect, said it will not affect property values, but then in the next sentence he said he has no expertise in property values. So I don't really have expertise in property values either, but that is one of the reasons we generally keep commercial things, industrial things, and residential homes in different locations.
I think your time is up, Ms. Brister.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Jackson Dreisbach, Maple Glen.
I'm Noah Watson from Fort Washington.
And so we are both juniors at the high school. And so in previous years, a popular fundraiser and a successful fundraiser has been selling soft pretzels at the end of the school day to students leaving the building. And this year, a policy change has made it so we can only sell at after 3 p.m., which is when students have either left the school or are like practicing sports. So there isn't a huge like population of kids we are able to sell to.
And for the past few years, this has been a really big part of the class in raising money, and it's really lowered prices for most classes, specifically prom. And as members of the class who want lower costs, and speaking for the behalf of our class, we just thought it was sort of wrong that we are kind of restricted from making money for the class and lowering everyone else's dues for the year. And Mrs. Mass has more on it for us. Thank you.
So just as like a side note, I wasn't.
Excuse me. Could you?
Oh,
please
Barb
just-
Mass,
Thank
Fort
you.
Washington. So just as a side note, I wasn't even planning to talk about pretzels, but then I saw some juniors and we were talking about it. The class fundraiser for juniors has always been pretzels, and just specifically, we normally make about $50 a week on that, and that actually goes to the DJ. I know this because I do the books. So unfortunately, we've lost money. We have only made where we normally have between $250 and $300 at this time of year. We have about $27. So that's not going to really pay for the DJ. So we do all this fundraising because we want to offset the cost of the junior prom ticket. So I know it's been an issue at the elementary schools too, and I would love for that to change. But specifically for the junior class, we would really like to be able to sell the pretzels at 2:30 like we've always done, because that's where the students are, and so that we can make some money. Thank you. I don't know how to put this on.
Hi, Ginny Vitella, Ambler. I wasn't going to start with pretzels, but since it's on the topic right now, I will. This is ridiculous. This money at the elementary level raises thousands of dollars for a fun and educational and memory-making class trip. And I know the school district isn't going to pay for those 4 elementary 5th grade trips that cost, thousands and thousands of dollars. And this way it's affordable for those who can't afford. In that policy, it simply says that it actually says that there are allowed exceptions. I think it's 20 at the high school and 10 at the elementary, that the PTA and PTO can give an exception to a food item, and that, I think, falls underneath it, or it should. The junk that is sold at the school, I know you say it falls in the count, but you look at the sugar, the carbs, and the calories. A soft pretzel sold after school is a parent choice that I'm opting for, and it feels like the school district is saying, no, Jenny, you can't pick what you feed your child. It's horrible, and they need the money, and I don't think the district's going to come up with it. And now the juniors have the same situation, and it's a shame, and that policy should not be enforced the way it is read. It shouldn't be enforced the way it's being enforced. That's that. Pretzels should be allowed to be sold. That's my opinion on it. Also, I'm curious, we got a donation for $1,000 from the girls soccer club. I know other boosters have been asked to donate as well. And I'm curious why our school district cannot fund live streaming equipment and also fund that necessary equipment for that for the broadcasting club. Also, I want to thank you, Lori. The flags, they have not gone unnoticed. I want to let you know. I've been meaning to tell you that, so that is on my list to bring up. The bus depot. I believe the school district should stop wasting our money and fighting the community that is most affected by this bus depot. The zoning exceptions are grotesque. This area is a residential for a reason. You are fitting a round peg in a square peg in a round hole. The last expert doesn't even know where people will park if there's an event at Fort Washington Elementary School. There's a school-wide event. There's 510 or more at this point, I think it's 514, students at Fort Washington Elementary School. If they have a school-wide event, you know where they park? In the gravel lot between the Field of Dreams and Lockash Fields. That's where they park. Because the upper parking lot, which the expert who testified doesn't know, is filled with the teachers, because there's about 125 staff there. So there is no parking. The township has also now passed that there'll be no parking along Fort Washington Avenue. Okay, so I don't know where all these people are going to park for that elementary school. Their fields have been taken away. The geothermal, they've been unable to use that. They have no ball field. The ball fields they use for gym and recess are Lockash and Field of Dreams. As it's drawn right now, they would have to cross over the driveway of the employees and buses and car line and people and traffic, which happens all day. So even though pickups at 9, school starts at 9, or it ends at 3:30, buses leave there at 1:30 where I might be out on recess, where I might be out at gym using those fields. Those are our only fields because of the water runoff. I've talked about that before. This is a bipartisan community effort that people from all political stripes are against this. The people that live the closest are against it, and it's really, really a horrible location. We should go back to square one, get a committee of community members most affected who know this property well, not experts that were paying millions of dollars of our tax money, that don't actually know about the land or how it's used. Thank you.
I do not see anyone else. Oh, nope, I do.
Shannon Connors, Fort Washington. I am a mother of a new kindergartner at Fort Washington Elementary, and he has been there for 2 months. He loves the school, and I just think it's a disgrace that this is even being considered and that our tax dollars are being spent on this. It's absolutely disgraceful and disgusting when there is plenty of room in that industrial park not being used. So yes, I agree with Jenny. I think this should be reconsidered, go back to square one. I moved here in 2020 during COVID from a town that is built around a landfill that should be closed, but due to, things out of the residents' control, it is going to be open for another 50 years. And the health of that town is at stake. Plenty of cancer clusters there. They already have 309 right there, right next to the playground. There's no shade on the playgrounds. My son has complained about that. He hates the heat. So I think that the health and safety of the children, especially after what the past 4 or 5 years have been in this world, should be the #1 priority. So thank you for listening to me.
Okay, I do not now see anyone else approaching, so I will close our second opportunity for public participation. I will note that we received 2 online comments that have been shared with the board and will be distributed as usual, neither of which had to do with agenda items, which is why I waited to announce those now. Dr. Smith, any responses from the administration?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Wallach. I will comment on the pretzels since it was brought up. And I would be happy to follow up with Ms. Martonic, Mrs. Mass, and even the students if they would like to discuss it. But I just want to make it very clear there has been no change in the school board policy or admin regs regarding this. Maybe it is the implementation of this, but there has not been a change in that. And we are bound by federal regulations because we participate in the National School Lunch Program. Unfortunately, pretzels are considered a competitive food, which we are not permitted to sell until 30 minutes after the end of the school day. And exceptions are permitted. The principal can recommend exceptions. However, each day you sell it is considered an exception. So if you sell it 20 days, there's 20 exceptions for the whole building are gone. So I'm happy to work with you whether to help understand it or to look at other options so that we can certainly raise funds for our students to participate in activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Board members, Mr. Held.
So I just want to say thank you to the two students, Jackson and Noah. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for being part of public comment. That's how democracy works. You make your voice heard. You heard Dr. Smith's response, and I hope that we really do look into what options are available, if it's pretzels, if it's something else, because that's an important fundraiser, and we totally understand that. And so thank you for being here. It's really important.
Any other board members with comments? Okay, we'll move along. Dr. Smith, you have additional comments.
I do. I apologize. I did want to say as part of my superintendent remarks earlier, and I apologize I did not have a slide, but happy Diwali to anybody in our community who is celebrating the Festival of Lights. Thank you.
Definitely, and thank you for that, Dr. Smith. Moving on, we have our informational items. We have our enrollment report. We have our liaison committee reports. Do any liaisons have anything else to add other than what's in their report? I will add on behalf of the Education Foundation that there was an announcement that came out, I think either today or maybe yesterday when I read it, that announced the newest inductees into the Upper Dublin High School Hall of Fame. There are 10 inductees that'll be celebrated in April, and they set amazing examples for what Upper Dublin students ultimately become and how some of these people or all of these people have really touched the world in different categories: business and law, arts and entertainment, community service, military. I'm forgetting one of the categories, but and another really, I think, vibrant part of the whole Hall of Fame thing here at the high school is that on the day of the ceremony, it's April the 4th, I believe, Dr. Smith, something like that. It's definitely in April. I can get the exact date. The inductees come to the high school and they spend time with the students in the high school, and they meet with them both in a global setting and then in small group settings so that students can really see what our alumni become. And I think it's a great program. And I'm happy to see it continuing, and it's an amazing group of inductees. I think this is the 4th year that there have been people inducted. So just wanted to add that. Anybody else for their liaison reports? Very good. Next up, we have our monthly committee meeting approved minutes. We have our minutes from September the 4th for both Education and Policy Committee and September 18th for Finance. They were approved by committee, and similar to what we did belatedly for the Policy Committee, they get moved along and put up for informational purposes. And lastly, we have our schedule of upcoming meetings. Our next Education Committee meeting is Wednesday, November the 6th at 6 o'clock. Policy Committee is that same date at 7 o'clock or immediately thereafter. Our next Finance Committee meeting is Wednesday, November the 20th at 6 o'clock. And our next legislative meeting just before Turkey Day will be Monday, November the 25th at 7 o'clock. And with that, I thank everyone, and we are adjourned.